see what is crack-a-lackin'. Let's get things going here. Let's hope all is right with the world. Everything's working as intended. I guess I'll find out shortly. Boop 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 boo. Let's find out. It appears to be. Okie dokie. All right. Let's go ahead and start up the old Warframe. Is this is this week of the Tenno 2 drink minimum. I'm pretty sure I don't have yeah, it just says that it's my live broadcast, even though it is actually the Tenno 2 drink minimum for this week, which for the week of September 7th. Yeah, because I don't know dates or nothing. My name is ShotFace. I am one half of the Console Casuals, bringing you the Tenno 2 drink minimum this week. Solo dolo, all by myself. Sorry for those who give a shit. Luke's actually not here. He's gearing up for bigger and better opportunities for his budding career. That is actually well outside of YouTube. He's going to be kind of indisposed for an indeterminate amount of time. We don't know if or when he's coming back to actually do some YouTube stuff. So in the meantime, I'm going to be here on the Warframe, drinking and trying to podcast as best I can. Now, there's going to be some changes around here on the channel in the coming weeks. There is going to be a short downtime of a couple of weeks, as I do myself have a personal life and a job that I have to maintain, and that job requires me to travel to a lot of crazy-ass places, and I don't always have internet access. So, this week is going to be a short and sweet, to the point, 10:02 drink minimum. Scout's honor, I've already had a couple of drinks. So, we're just going to jump into the nitty-gritty of it this week. This is a Warframe podcast. Primarily, well, it started as, and we kind of just branch off into whatever the hell is going on in console gaming in general, or games we're truly interested in. Obviously, a big game drop this week that I know a lot of people are big on, and Luke himself has been very big on. And even though he doesn't have a whole lot of time to get on YouTube and do stuff here for the channel, he has actually been playing that big game, which I will get to shortly. As of, I would hope he's actually watching right now, too. But, as of this week in Warframe, we do have a couple of things going on, and I know we're coming out of format here. Normally, I'm drinking rum when I'm not drinking anything fancy, so don't really need to cover what we're drinking. What we're playing this week, obviously, some Warframe, a couple of other items on our list. I did jump back into No Man's Sky a little bit. Obviously, still playing Diablo myself, which is what I do. And there's another game out there that I'm not going to go into yet, but I have been playing Paragon steadily, as we do here at the Console Casuals channel. It's one of the games we do so love and are very passionate about. But yeah, this week we've got very little Warframe news, as there's not a whole lot going on leading up to the Plains of Eidolon. And here it is. Let's see. Not this Friday, but next Friday will be the next DevStream installment, on account of they were at PAX last week, so they're taking a week off to get things ready for what's supposed to be a pretty sizable update, so they want to make sure people tune in for that. Very big deal. It's going to actually hopefully showcase stuff that they had talked about with the Plains of Eidolon, and stuff that they'd mentioned in interviews and things like that recently. So we'll see where that goes. Also, the Corpus pump-action shotgun just dropped for PC. I believe it dropped earlier today, I want to say it was. And so a couple of YouTubers are trying to get their information out as quickly as possible, at least their first impressions on the 3 weapons that were introduced, and I believe an armor set, which is very Corpus-y, so it's kind of mecha-inspired. I imagine it would go with guys like frames like Volt and Vauban Prime and such, so super excited about that. I definitely want some more Vauban Prime fashion frame. Also, what else is going on here? Oh, our next big patch for consoles goes into cert next week, or at least they're trying to get it into cert next week. Hopefully that will have the Corpus gun update. I mean, I'm hoping for it, because obviously I am super... Whoa. Show profile. Hold on. Why is my... Why does my profile look like that? Oh, okay, yeah, that was just a visual bug. I'm actually 14 grand away from Gold Dragon there. That MR24. I don't know why it's showing so low on my my UI right here. That seems very odd. It doesn't correlate accordingly. But yeah, so we'll be getting new weapons there. Hopefully, those weapons will be in that update. But we'll see what's up. That next coming update will bring us one thing that I'm super excited about because of our boy Fave and PS. We'll be getting Tenno Gen Round 9, which has 2 more Grax skins in it, which is fan-frickin-tastic. I love me some Grax. In fact, we're going to change off of the Hitsusan skin because, you know, Faven and Hitsusan, good friends. But we're going to go over to my Pirate King look in honor of some more Grax stuff coming out. There we go. There we go. Let's fashion that up. Ooh. Spiffy looking. Spiffy looking. Right. So yeah, other things going on in Warframe real quick. Xbox itself, even though I'm playing on PlayStation, obviously, Xbox is celebrating its 3-year anniversary with Warframe, so good for those guys. PlayStation obviously celebrated its 3-year anniversary some time ago. We actually got a sigil for that, I want to say. I don't remember. Sigil or glyph, one of the two. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. But let's see what else. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not wearing the ribbon. Oh, no. We got to go back and we got to put the ribbon on. Because, yeah. There's apparently a thing going on. Let's go ahead and hit up the attachments here real quick. Chest attachments. And anybody who's logged in the last couple of days this week has probably seen this thing. The Harmony ribbon. Excuse me. Oh, man. I had a bunch of brisket for dinner. So, yeah. This Harmony ribbon. If you're in-game, you'll notice that there is a support other Tenno, where the Harmony ribbon thing. If you want more information on that, go ahead and click the link right here in your console, and that'll take you to a blog post by Rebecca explaining what the Harmony ribbon is all about. I think everybody should rock them, and I know in the last couple of days some communities have gotten together on certain relays and shown their support, and it's an interesting thing. I think it's a very cool take for a developer to put something in a game like that. I won't spoil it. It's just hit the link and then please read up about it. Support things. Supporting things is good. It's good for everybody. Yeah, outside of that, here on PlayStation, obviously we have the Razorback Armada this week. Just showed up. We've got a whole weekend, essentially, to deal with this Razorback deal. If you haven't done the Razorback before, there are plenty of informational videos, because the Razorback is a reoccurring event. Here we are. That's what it looks like. You'll get a Orokin Catalyst and all that good stuff. But, yeah, using the invasion system, you'll see as either faction gets more sway in the galaxy, depending on how the Tenno as a whole on your platform come together and do missions in the invasion system, will determine, you know, which actual event happens first. So it looks like the Fomorian is close behind. Now, these events are notable because if you've never seen these before, I know they come around fairly rarely, and newer players might not understand that when one of these comes around, it's either going to be the Fomorians for the Grineer, which is primarily an Arc-Wing type mission, or the Razorback for the Corpus, which is a souped-up jackal who's real crazy. And it's very involved there. There's a couple of steps to that process, but if we go to Earth, right here where the mission is, you'll see the Razorback Armada. Now, what these things do is the Fomorian and the Armada show up, and we have so much time as an entire community on our particular platform to stop this from happening. So everybody puts in their 2 cents and repeats this mission over and over again. Usually it's a good place to farm endo, or it used to be a place to farm cores and things of that nature, and some exclusive mods and things of that nature. So what happens is, if it gets to a relay, if it gets to the relay that it's aiming at, it looks like it's aiming at Maru's Bazaar, but that's very strange. It should be aiming for the Strata relay, because that's the real relay, but I guess Maru's Bazaar counts as a proper relay. I don't count it. I think it's what is that? It's I think it's a weird skeevy place where the trade chat goes to swindle new players. That's what I think of it. I'm not a fan of Maru's Bazaar unless I have to go crack some endo. But if the Razorback gets there, and we don't stop it, we don't drag this, you can't see the percentage here, but you can see it on the main thing. If we don't get that percentage down to 0, let's get my thing up here, right there, it's at 97.3. If we don't get that down to 0 in the next 4 days, 14 hours, and 20 minutes, it'll destroy the relay. and that relay will be gone. And that's it for that. Goodbye relay, no more relay. And if you think I'm joking about that, go ahead and take a look at all the planets and see how many have a tiny little what looks like an asteroid belt and what used to be a relay. It's actually happened on every platform to a different relay. At least once. Now, there's speak and rumor and some confirmation of the idea of the possibility that we as a community can do an event to rebuild a relay in the future. However, that won't be implemented for some time, if it is. So, hey, maybe we'll get an older relay back. And if we lose Maru's Bazaar, oh well. Not too worried about it. I'm sure she'll manage. She's an NPC. She'll be fine. So, yeah, that's pretty well all the big news going on in the Warframes right now. And I know I'm not doing a whole lot of gameplay, but because I do have a list of topics to discuss in front of me and things I want to hit today. And since Cazz himself is not with us, at least for the foreseeable future, I kind of got to carry this thing. So there's going to be less gameplay, more me crouching up and down repeatedly. Get used to it. Yeah, look at that. I got to work the glutes. That's what's up. Warframes need to get out. They need exercise. They need to do stuff. And then they need to fuck up your frame rate. Look at that. Oh, yeah, destroy the frame rate. Ah, please, PS4, get wrecked. Alright. The only problem with playing on a console. So, other things going on here. It did come to my attention somewhat recently that there are a few YouTubers and streamers who live in the southeast of the U.S. who are, kind of going through some stuff right now, what with all the big storms and giant swirly winds that destroy entire islands. Yeah, if you're down there, our fucking prayers go out to you, bro. Try to be safe. I know that there's a few people like Mogamu and I think Daniel the Demon, maybe MCIK, I think is in Florida. A couple of those guys. We got to meet and speak with all these dudes at TennoCon and hang out for a little bit and all that good stuff. So they're all really cool dudes. They're all really good people, and kind of I don't know, seeing as how we all do this stuff on YouTube, some of us way better than others, obviously, but there's a community here, especially here in Warframe, I've noticed, compared to other games. So, level of concern for guys who, are in the same space as us. Personally, for me, more so, I do have family down there, so I'm keeping contact with them and seeing where things are at. More than likely, most of them have already jumped ship and went back up to New York to hang out for a little while to kind of wait out that whole situation. So, thankfully, I have family all along the East Coast. But, yeah, if you're down there, stay safe. Keep your head up, fucking at least above the water. Let's see. Yeah, we started a little late today. And that's my fault, which is why the title is wrong, and there's some other technical difficulties because we had to move all the podcasting stuff over to my PS4, and that took a minute. We totally were not as ready as we thought we'd be. Let's see. Well, like I said, this one was going to be short, so there's only a couple of other things I really wanted to hit on this week. Primarily Paragon, what's going on with that. There was a big kerfuffle with some not downloadable, but what was it? Some premium purchase packs that were released, and that caused a pretty big uproar in the community. If you're a Paragon player, I'm right there with you. I'm a founder for the game, as we've stated that before. So, master founder. So, I am not entirely on board with a lot of the monetization practices that seem to be coming out of Epic at this moment. However, they did issue a statement regarding those packs and how they were going to remove certain items from it that the player base seemed to be very vocal about. And there was like a 24-hour turnaround from the time these things were announced to the time that the statement was put out. So hopefully they listen to the community just a little bit better in the future. I mean, they've done a pretty good job, but it's also a matter of balancing perception, expectation, and delivery, right? So the community wants one thing, sees one thing, and it isn't necessarily always 100% right, so the developer has to compensate for what's perceived and what's actual in the eyes of the player. So, now, with this particular pack that was released, that wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, to some extent it was. It seemed like a cash grab. I won't go into details here because I don't want to sit and regurgitate all the stuff that's been on Reddit for the last 24 hours. It's been kind of a shitstorm, where a fair amount of pay-to-win arguments came up very fervently. So, and I have spoken my piece on that several times in the past regarding Paragon as it was. So, the only other big thing to really hit consoles for us here at the Console Casuals specifically has been Destiny 2. Obviously, I have a horrible love-hate relationship with Destiny. I was a Sherpa for the longest time, and I loved taking people to the mountaintop and having a good time with that. And then some of the communication from the developer and some of the things that were done in vanilla Destiny all the way through to Past the Taken King didn't seem 100% kosher in my eyes. So I jumped ship. And now that we're actually looking at Destiny 2, it seems like a fairly positive note that they've kind of cleaned up their act a little bit in the regards for the game that they've put out. However, it's still very much Destiny plus some stuff. And a lot of the bad business practice stuff that people saw with microtransactions and things like that have kind of reared their head. So there's a little bit of a bad taste in some people's mouths about that. But it's in the Blizzard Activision house, so you're going to get microtransaction-y. You're going to get a lot of very cash-grabby kind of moves here in the background. I mean, these are the same guys that put out not just great games like Diablo and Overwatch, but also the entire Call of Duty series for the last decade. So yeah, you're going to have some good, you're going to have some bad, and regardless of your opinion of whether Activision has their hands up the puppet hole of Bungie or not, it doesn't look good for Bungie when they do their microtransaction stuff. However, it is still a Bungie game. They know how to do a shooter, and they do it very fucking well. So, good on them for making another game that's going to be fantastic and amazingly fun to play. But bad on them for being a business, I guess. Which is the only opinion I really have there. So, I don't think I will be jumping into Destiny anytime soon on account of my old Destiny crew doesn't seem to be so adamant about wanting to give a crap about it. Or maybe they're just not telling me because I left on pretty bad terms. I was openly negative, unfortunately. But yeah, so Destiny's out. I know Cazz has been playing it in the meantime before he leaves for his work stuff. So he has definitely given me a positive review. He has some negative thoughts on it. He's not a big fan of the changes to PvP and things like that, and that's totally fine. I get that. I'm sorry if this visual of just Frost standing here constantly doing idle animations is not very engaging. But like I said, talking and playing the game at the same time gets to be a little distracting and a little disorienting. However, I do need to farm up for these Razorback items, because to actually engage the Razorback and do the mission the 3 times, you actually have to go to specific missions and farm up a particular resource to build a component to actually access the mission, which is this Razorback cipher right here. So you need the cryptographic ALU, and those are picked up from Corpus Archwing missions. So I guess I can do a couple of those, and we'll see where that goes while I further discuss this whole Destiny thing. The reason I would bring up Destiny in a Warframe podcast is because there's a lot of comparisons that were made between Destiny 1 and Warframe some time ago. Hell, it's even the reason I started Oh, hey, Encore's in the chat. How you doing? Oh, I didn't even notice Stormcloud was there. Hey. But, yeah, so the reason I bring up Destiny here is because the overall comparisons. And honestly, when I left Destiny, it was to come to Warframe, because Warframe had really hit its stride with the kind of game it ended up being, or the kind of game we have now. When Warframe first came out, it did not entice me in the slightest. But, you know, a couple updates later, and it started to look good again. Or, well, for the first time to me, looked good to Cazz, who got me into it initially. So, we find ourselves at another point in which Warframe is looking to expand itself with the Plains of Eidolon, while Destiny 2 is not just on the horizon, but actually here. So, are these two games going to compete? No. because in my eyes, they've never actually competed. The only reason I came over to Warframe is because at the time I was very, very disagreeable in the Destiny community. I wasn't really feeling out what was going on with Destiny and Bungie, and like I said, their business practices, essentially. I didn't feel I was getting the game I was paying for, essentially, at that time. And then stuff that they know that they have done in the past and could have done to that game, I felt that they had intentionally left out. Stuff that people had pointed out in this game was already here. There were the customization, some of the mission structure, things of that nature. And honestly, the communities were decidedly different communities. I found that this community was considerably more positive. So I enjoyed that more, and I think that's really because Warframe has been kind of this PC darling that's just kind of flown under the radar for a considerable amount of time. So I could see the community being more positive. When a game is kind of got more of a cult status, you generally end up with a fairly more positive community, because the people who are playing it, you know, they're here to play this game specifically. When you end up with one of these big tentpole franchises or one of these massive AAA title type games, you always you get a fair amount of toxicity there, especially in competitive games, and Destiny obviously has a huge emphasis on PvP. So playing PvP in Destiny, you got a lot of hate, but there was also a lot of balance issues which led to that hate. So I didn't feel like certain things were being addressed that should have been addressed in that game, that led to a lot of the toxicity that pushed me out at that time. But do I think that it's fair to compare Destiny and Warframe? Hell no. They're two distinctly different games, especially in their current iterations. They're very, very different. Just because they share some shooter elements, lots of games share shooter elements. It's an entire genre. Come on. So I don't see there being a justification for comparison. And I know we all joked about this at TennoCon after Tenno Live, right next to the stage. A bunch of us, specifically, I think it was Rob from A Gay Guy Plays, Mogamu, and a couple other people, me, Cazz. We were, there was actually like a pretty decent crowd of us who were joking about how, oh, you know, Destiny's dead, oh shit, Plains of Eidolon, gonna kill that, you know, and that's all just in fun, because the truth is, none of us really give a shit about the comparison of the two. And I know for the longest time there were people who would get on forums and Reddit and things like that and would try to compare these games because of what Destiny was really trying to accomplish and how it actually bore some similarities in the MMO market to games like Warframe. Not just Warframe, but again, Warframe was that PC darling, and still kind of is, manages to maintain its spot in the top 10 of concurrent players on Steam. So, yeah, so personally, I don't see that there's a reason to compare the two, because they are drastically different, and they draw in two fairly different crowds. I don't want to say wholly different, but pretty different crowds. And I've tried to get my old Destiny raid crew to really try out Warframe, at least on console, and it didn't stick with them. They genuinely preferred games more akin towards Destiny. So, I mean, and much luck and good and power to those guys for actually doing what they're doing and trying to make a game that is better than what they put out. It's Destiny 2, from the outside perspective, seems more like an apology to what Destiny was. Kind of like Captain America Civil War was more of an apology for Age of Ultron, you know? If you're a Marvel fan, you probably get that. But, yeah, so anybody who is going to take into who's going to jump to a forum and say, hey, you know, Destiny is now better than, you know, insert whatever game here, it's definitely not without its flaws. And if my friends, I've stated before that I don't ever really want to get back into that, but having seen all the promotional material and things like that, I do have a bit of nostalgia for that game. So it seems like Destiny 2 may have fixed everything, but I feel like for me it's a little too late for having gone through so much in Destiny 1. So I've really kind of pegged it to, if my old Halo crew, which turned out to be my Destiny crew at the same time, turns around and says, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, you at least need to try it, then I may give it a chance, but it's very unlikely, considering Plains of Eidolon is nearing fairly closely. So I'm super amped for what that's going to entail, and I know that some information has been kind of discussed about what's going on with the Plains of Eidolon, and you know, the Eidolons themselves, and how that entire Monster Hunter type process is going to take place when it comes to defeating them, and all of the new mechanics that will be introduced in the Plains of Eidolon. So super excited about that, and I really don't have a whole lot of time, like many gamers, to split my attention between so many games, and games both like Destiny and Warframe have a tendency to soak up a fair amount of your time. So excuse me, need a drink. So yeah, I don't see me giving up Warframe for Destiny anytime soon. I might dabble in it at some point in the future when a bunch of people actually come through, people whose opinions I trust come through and tell me things like, hey, you should totally check this out. You should drop your pants and take one for the team there. But until said time, I don't think I'm really gonna give it a second look, other than what people have, what other streamers and YouTubers have stated. You know, like, seeing it from the outside, I'm sorry, it still doesn't look like enough. But for those die-hard Destiny people, it's probably a great time, and I don't doubt that it is an amazing experience, and it's fun to fucking play, and all the additions are, you know, very much welcome and beloved. Now, I'm not saying this to disparage Destiny in any way. Like, me not playing it doesn't take any money out of Bungie's pocket, I assure you. So, but I don't think we should compare them, I guess is my point, and it's really not fair to either game or their community. But I do wish them the best. Hell, even the Warframe official Play Warframe Twitch account, or Twitter account, you know, gave them a thumbs up on Twitter and saying, hey, you know, congrats on the launch and all that shit. So there's no bad blood here. But I did want to touch on the idea of comparing the two games, because it is something that caused me to play this game over the other. So, I mean, hey, if anybody else has an opinion and you want to say something, go ahead and throw it in the chat or leave it in the comments. As always with the Console Casuals, we do actually sit back and read comments. We don't get a whole lot of them, but we do read them. And, I mean, hell, the updates go right to my phone, so I usually check fairly quickly. I mean, except for on the weekends. Sometimes I'm a little sluggish on the weekends, but that's understandable on account of my, sometimes I get blood in my alcohol content. So, if I don't get back to a comment right away, give it till like Sunday. Give it till That's usually when I'm sober enough to be competent. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get out of this mission real quick and try not sprinting through these fucking corridors. God, I hate Corpus tile sets for this. But this is what you gotta do to fight the Razorback. So, I'll have that. Let's see, Encore. I played Destiny 1 from beta, and honestly, I think they really improved. But yes, there are still things that could be improved. Yeah, pretty much. Definitely, it looks like it's come a long way, Encore, and I wish them the best. I hope that game becomes something amazing and is a better experience towards the players than the original. As it was a great game in feel, but the actual, I don't know how to put this. I'm finding the right words here. The articulation just isn't coming to me. It was definitely a fun game. Totally a fun game, not without its flaws. So Destiny 2, which I'm of the camp of people who look at it and see Destiny 1.5, obviously. Oh hey, getting my daily. Sweet. And I am only 4 days away from my 450 tribute. Look at that. I need to log in more. This is what happens when you actually do Warframe pretty regularly for any form of content, is you don't actually play it as regularly as most people would think. Let's see, there is another thing up for that. But yeah, so Destiny, definitely not without its flaws, and some of them are a bit more glaring than others, at least for some members of their community, as well as outside communities. A lot of people are doing their reviews right now, which are kind of half-hearted reviews. It's more of a first impression situation, because honestly, they pulled this shit with the first one too, and I'm not a big fan of it. It's when a game holds their review time. They hold back, or they put an NDA to their game saying that you can't release a review of this game till after such time. Now, in certain cases, when you see that NDA get lifted well before a game's release, that usually means that the publisher is very proud of the product, and they want people to know that the product is good well before it comes out to build up hype. Now, when they hold those reviews in reserve till the day of, or hell, in some cases, hours after the midnight launch, like, oh, you can't release your review till 5 p.m. the day the game comes out, even though people can download it and start playing it at midnight. Right? Prior to that 5 p.m. of that day, right? So that's a pretty shady practice from a publisher standpoint. That usually shows that they don't have faith in the product, and the product might genuinely be bad, and in most cases that's what happens, is the product is mediocre or subpar or just crap, right? So I'm always leery of when a publisher has people hold their reviews. Now, a lot of people are doing first impressions on account of Destiny, or Bungie and Activision have, you know, kind of put it out there that, hey, you can't really do a review of this game till it's open to everyone, and, you know, everybody's in the wild together and experiencing it, because it's an open experience that everyone needs to be together for. And that to me sounds like bullshit. It sounded like bullshit when they pulled it the first time. Sounds like bullshit now. You could totally have the servers open and have the reviewers come in and play the game a week in advance to tell people what the fuck is going on with your game before it comes out. There's no reason they can't. Just because the raid isn't there doesn't mean your game can't be reviewed as a whole, because the raid is only a percentage of people. Not everyone does the raid, so it doesn't necessarily need to count towards the review. It is only a tiny fraction of the experience of the game as a whole. The majority of Destiny is played just like Warframe. You go through missions and you grind. That's the bread and butter of the game. That's what people want to know. Is that worth my time? Is it fun? Is it engaging? Is the grind so horrible that I don't want to be a part of it? And it doesn't seem like that's the case, so I don't know why it would hold back reviews in that way. So you have a lot of review sites putting up their first impression reviews, which, again, I'll state, it's half-hearted bullshit. Everybody wants to be first on their reviews because obviously publications need to garner clicks and things like that. So you get a lot of this half-hearted bullshit of where people are just looking at the surface value stuff. So I would say be leery of any reviews of any game, not just Destiny, if you have to wait till after that game's released to see a review. In the case of Destiny, I would say wait another week and a half before, you know, really seeing what people think about it, because that's when you're going to see people put, you know, a couple of days into the game and really understand where the grind is and where the quote-unquote paywall might be for your time, effort, and or actual wallet. I would say the one thing Destiny has definitely going for it right now is its PvP is, it's looking a lot better than it has. I know Destiny 1's PvP always seemed to have balance issues in my eyes and in the eyes of a lot of people in that community. Be it the weapons balancing or certain abilities and powers from the subclasses and things like that. I am flying like crap in Archwing right now. So, like, it's always been a pain in the ass, and it seems like they've gotten a little bit better with making some pretty dramatic changes to the gameplay, like making it 4 players instead of 6, and changing the loadout setups for weapons, things of that nature. That all seems like it steps in the right direction, and it's getting closer to what we call arena shooters, which, you know, Halo, the epitome of an arena shooter, essentially, or your games like CSGO, stuff like that, where stuff is essentially balanced right out the gate. Everybody's pretty well on the same terms for the most part as soon as you start the game. You know, with the exception of some minor modifications to your build and whatnot. But yeah, there's more of an emphasis on cooperation and teamwork as opposed to something like a Call of Duty where it's just run and gun, doesn't matter what game type you're playing. So, kudos to them for you know, the PvP being something that looks like it's definitely getting better. And honestly, for this particular run of Destiny, that would be one of the driving points for me, is the PvP, because God knows Warframe's PvP is just a crapshoot. There's no telling whether you're going to get a game with people, whether it's going to be laggy, what's going on, what region you're in half the damn time. And honestly, it's too fast and frenetic to really play on console. I think I don't find it as engaging as, say, a standard shooter like Destiny. So time will tell with that portion. I am very, very curious as to what the Destiny community thinks of its PvP. In its current state, I don't think anyone's at a point yet where they can claim something's OP or something's broken. There's really no meta forming. The game's only been out a couple of days, so you can't really get a feel for that. Much like the actual reviews, we're not going to get real opinions and real understandings of the game until, you know, a week or two goes by and you see what the guys playing at the highest tier think of the game. So, again, I don't see any more comparisons coming out between Warframe and Destiny. I think they're so different at this point. Pretty sure people are gonna not do those comparisons anymore, which is fine in my eyes, because they are very, very different games nowadays. I could understand why the comparisons were made way back when, but no longer. Those days are gone. And we'll see if all our joking at the Tenno live stage is truly warranted when Plains of Eidolon hits. And I guess Bungie will be a very big determining factor on how they handle their community and what their community thinks of what's going on with their game now. I definitely don't see an influx of players coming to Warframe, especially from the Destiny camp, at least till Plains of Eidolon hits. Then maybe not a bunch of Destiny players, but definitely a bunch of players will be taking a look at Plains of Eidolon. So we will see. And so with that, I'm not actually going to do the Armada tonight. I might do it later tonight with some friends. It is a very interesting fight with a couple of different steps to it, in which you have to deal with, what is it, some Bursas or whatnot. Oh, wait, no, I need to kill that guy. You get to die. But yeah, so those are just some of my thoughts surrounding this whole Destiny release thing. Much love, more power to them. Hope they do a good job, because God knows they could use it. Maybe they'll bring back some veterans like me to at least check it out and give it a whirl, and not think that they're complete shit since they signed a deal with the devil that is Activision. Because hell, at least they're on the fucking the Blizzard.net servers for your account information, so that's cool. Because while I hate Activision, and I will outrightly say that I hate Activision because of what they did to Modern Warfare, I do like Blizzard. I've always been a Blizzard fan. I've stated several times, I play the crap out of Diablo. Overwatch is an amazing game. It's fun as hell. So, left to Taken King DLC. Actually, Encore, that's around the same time that I moved over to Warframe. I was fairly dissatisfied after the Taken King. I mean, you know, I'd done the raid I don't know how many times with my crew, but yeah, that's about the same time I came over. There was a video, and you can probably still find it on YouTube. It was like 34 things, or 34 reasons Warframe is better than Destiny, which is kind of what sparked this whole train of thought for me today. Was that video is what brought me over, because literally that video had maybe 12 different things in it that said, oh yeah, you can do this in Warframe, but you can't do this in Destiny. And those 12 different things were things that were brought up in conversations and arguments in my Destiny crew. Like, things we were genuinely irked at Bungie for not having done properly in our eyes. But then, you know, those things were done properly in other games. And hell, there were things that were done properly in other games that Bungie had done in Halo. You know? Like the shaders thing, which I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. I know that's probably the biggest point of contention with Destiny 2 right now, is the whole shaders debacle. But shaders used to be, you know, you could put them, you had a shader, and you could put that shader on any set of armor you owned, and it would change your entire set of armor to be a particular color palette. And personally, I don't like what they're doing with shaders now. They're whatever they have going on with the microtransactions, but I didn't like shaders originally because I thought it was a dumb idea. It's like, why couldn't I just make my guy the colors I wanted? Why couldn't I just customize my character like I could in Halo? Bungie made Halo, And my colors, the two colors that I'm known for in first-person shooters, which are tan and or khaki and brick, which is tan and maroon, or just like a beige and red, essentially, right? Which was my whole setup. Why couldn't I do that in Destiny? Like, you guys made a game in which I could just color my guy whatever colors I wanted, and then you made this game and told me I couldn't do that anymore, that I had to play by your rules when it came to that. Now, obviously, aesthetic is a big deal, which, once I saw that video on YouTube, that was one of the biggest things for me was, hey, look, you can customize your Warframe to your heart's content, to your eyes bleed. Welcome to the end game that is Fashion Frame, I was like, wow, that seemed like such a relief looking at this game compared to that. So that's one of the major points that brought me over was, here's a form of expression in a game that I can latch on to, but I couldn't do that in Destiny, What's this? Destiny's DLC brought biggish things to the game, but the content wasn't enough. We'd run out way too quick, and they'd take too long to release more content. Yeah, that was one of my biggest points of contention was I felt like the amount of money I was putting into the game, I wasn't getting the return on that, There were so many content drops that seemed so lackluster as a whole. Now, I understand grind, and yes, Warframe is not without grind. Grind is the real endgame of Warframe, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. It genuinely is. But, yeah, when it came to grinding in Destiny, it didn't feel like it was very rewarding. Granted, it doesn't always feel rewarding in Warframe either. Grind is grind. And when I look at grind, the two games that come to mind for rewarding are Borderlands and Diablo. Granted, Diablo, it's a different mindset when you go through it, but Borderlands pretty well gets it right. You get tons of frickin' loot, you get many, many options. You unload a mass amount of numbers on the player so that they can pick the numbers that they want, or the combination of numbers that they want. And I never felt rewarded for the amount of time I had truly invested in Destiny. And I invested heavily in that game because I just loved playing it. And it what I always equate it to is the bad relationship. The bad relationship that you never want to get out of. When you can see the signs that you should probably end things with this person. And they're there always. Your friends can see those signs, and they see it in you, that you need to stop being with this individual, that you need to cut ties and start anew. But for whatever reason, maybe the sex is too fucking good, and you can't leave, because that keeps you going. Or you convince yourself that things will get better, things will change, Yeah, he'll stop beating me, and everything will be all right. He'll learn his lesson eventually, which is never the case. And at a certain point with Destiny, I felt like, hey, I've got enough black eyes, and I've made you enough sandwiches in the damn kitchen. Look, are you gonna fucking reciprocate, or do I need to hit the bricks? And so I left when I saw an out. And I know that's not wholly fair to compare Destiny to an abusive relationship. that's probably not the most PC thing to do, but that's kind of how I felt, and that's always how I think about it. And even when I look at Destiny 2 now, and I see the idea of nostalgia, the rose-tinted goggles come down, and it's like, oh man, I remember being in the Crucible and having those oh shit moments with my buddies, but it wasn't necessarily Destiny that was giving me those moments. It was being with the people I was playing with that gave me those moments, and I need to recognize that so I don't fall down that pit hole of spending $60 for something that I'm not going to enjoy. Not to say that I won't enjoy Destiny 2. There's a good chance I might. And honestly, my friends might drag me back down that rabbit hole at some point, at least to take a look and dip my toes in and remember what it was like. I'm human. I'm with fault, and I could totally fall off the wagon. But at this point, I look at that game and I don't see a need to go back. At least standing here by myself. So, and besides, Warframe has a lot coming up that I'm excited about, and this is where I want to stay. This is the bread and butter. I didn't go to any Destiny Con this year. I went to fucking Tenno Con. God damn it. I like this game. I have a banner hanging up behind me signed by literally every other content creator for this game. And no joke, I have all of them. If you actually get on my Twitter, you can see it. It's pinned at the very top. And I spoke with, shook hands with, and drank with a lot of these people, and they're awesome. So, a great community, and that's what I love about that. Now, I don't see me going back to Destiny where I have a lot of sore feelings, but I very well could, because the people that I enjoyed those moments with might end up drawing me in. I think it may be worth getting, but too soon to tell. I like it so far. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Is it's very much too soon. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Is I would like for it to be an amazing experience and be a great thing, and I would like, to find that reformed relationship where I come back and see that my old lover is doing well and is a better person. I would very much like that. Cazz is in the chat, joy, and you got to talk some smack, huh? But yeah, I would definitely like to have that feeling back of playing that game with those people and enjoying those moments. But until I get, some reassurance that the experience has been made better to my benefit, I can't justify going back in. So that's why I'm waiting on my friends. If they're gonna pull, I know a couple of them already have pulled the trigger on it, so I'm waiting for their takes on it, and I'll probably get a long text in about a week or two, saying, hey, okay, fine, you need to break down and play this because we need a fourth for the Crucible, and you're our guy. So, but so with all that being said, and I'm done gushing about all the silliness that is Destiny and/or Warframe, and you're just gonna stand here and look at my my fashion frame Frost here, my beautiful 5-forma Frost. That is him. And this is actually where I'm gonna go ahead and cut the podcast. I know I said it'd be short and sweet, and then I got on a fucking tangent because rum is awesome. So that's what you get. But yeah, seeing as though this is a Cazzless podcast, you're not going to get the usual stay cool, stay casual BS that he likes to drop. I am not a fan of that. So we're just going to say, everybody in the Southeast, be safe. Our thoughts are with you. And everybody who gave a crap to watch this podcast, thank you. Please click thumbs up, give us a like, tell your friends, give a follow. I know I don't tweet much, but I'm going to have to start doing it now because, hell, if somebody's going to run this thing into the ground, it's going to be me. So, yeah. Thank you for watching and engaging. This podcast will be up the same time next week here on this particular YouTube channel. And maybe we'll have some better stuff to go over next week. Maybe we'll have some new weapons. Hell, maybe we'll have an update that made it through cert in a timely fashion. So, till then. The chat is making me giggle. Till then, yeah, I will be playing more video games, and you guys should play more video games too. Good night, everybody.